listening to On The Fly.
What's up, guys? On The Fly, back again this week. This week's episode it's going to start our, 10-part series on the 80s. Each year, yeah, do your math. 80 to 89 would be 10. Believe it or not, it's not 9. It may fool you, but I know how Warden's math is. Anyway, so we're going to start tonight with 1980 with me. And look at it. You saw him when he had to pull the jersey out, and then he had to use the cup because both his teams had good weeks this week.
Hey, man, it don't happen all that much. So, hey,
yeah,
I'm drinking from the cup of victory, at least this week.
With me, as always, is Warden. What's
Cooper
up,
Rush, 3-0 as a starter, just saying. Yeah,
that's true. Quarterback controversy in Dallas.
Nah, get rid of Dak. Time to move on. Cut bait and run.
So your Cowboys pulled one out on Monday night against the Giants.
Nobody was more shocked than me.
Well, it is what it is.
No, there's so much parity in the NFL that there's no. I mean, I thought the Bills were dominant, man. They got beat. And you look at the Lions. God, they're scoring 20 points, and they haven't. Aren't they scoring 20 plus points? And have they even won a game yet?
Yeah, they've won a game.
But I mean, they lose by high scores. Yeah.
Yeah, their defense is not doing well. So.
And that's Cowboys. I mean, Michael Parsons is one of the. I mean, and honestly, if CeeDee Lamb gets going, I wouldn't mind seeing Cooper Rush, but they're going to bring back Dak too soon. He's going to probably hurt himself again. He's going to mess up his confidence because he wasn't confident in that first game.
Oh no!
So it'll be a Cowboys controversy, but it'll be which one sucks the most.
Okay. So then Pujols gets 700, which I was
got
glad to
699 and 700
in the same game.
One game.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because he got it in LA in front of the Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
And he was there one year, and he credits the Dodgers organization for giving him one of, because LA, the Angels is where players go to die. You got probably the two best players in the game
baseball right now
on the Angels, and they ain't doing nothing. Yeah. And Mike Trout, the best player in the game, nobody knows who he is outside of LA and geeks like me.
Mike Trout is.
But you follow, but your average fan doesn't know because they never see him in the playoffs.
Wow.
But he got it, and he got it with the Dodgers.
Yeah, if it's a fan that just tunes in for the playoffs, they're not going to know. But I think even the average fan that may follow it a little bit knows who Trout is.
Yeah, but I mean
what he's done over the years, yeah.
You had a lot of people that didn't follow baseball that knew who Derek Jeter was. It's the team. And Anaheim ain't the team.
No.
But about the Pujols, he got it in L.A., which is great. The guy that caught the ball, there's a story I have to share. The guy that caught the ball was a Dodger fan. They tried to get the ball from him. He said no. Pujols is like, cool, that's a souvenir. There's a story back, I think, when McGuire got one of his home runs back in the
70, number 70.
70 back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals wanted to get the ball back, and he goes, okay, give me this, that, and I want to meet McGuire. Well, McGuire was being a dick at the time and didn't meet him.
No, he was having
the
a roid
guy
rage.
Sold the ball for $3 million.
I think he made out a little bit better than meet McGuire.
Yeah, especially being that way. It takes 5 minutes of your time. So I think that guy. I don't blame him. I'm a Cardinal fan. I caught that ball. I'd be looking into selling it.
I'd be saying highest bidder.
But I don't know. I don't think that ball will bring as much as McGuire's, but I think it'll bring a pretty penny.
I think it'll bring something. There's not too many that's hit 700.
The next I think up's Babe Ruth and then Hank Aaron.
Yeah. So
Hank Aaron has
and there's not too many. There's not too many that need the asterisk beside their name that have hit over 700. If you know what I mean.
You still got to hit the ball, Stevie.
Yeah, but come on.
You still got to hit the ball.
Well, I tell you what.
Barry Bonds is still the home run leader. I don't care what anybody says.
He
is.
Me and you will disagree on that.
And you'll be wrong as always. So
yeah. Well, you're wrong, but you can disagree with me, but you're wrong.
You still got to hit. You still got to hit the ball, bro.
Yeah.
No matter how big your head grows.
There's a difference when you hit the ball and it gets in the outfield, and then when you hit the ball and it goes over, out of the park. Yeah, something's helping you there. Yeah, when your head is like 3 times the size that it was 5 years ago. Yeah, you're getting some help.
Yeah.
If that's the case for Orton, then just let everybody take them. I mean,
no, that's not true.
I mean, it's not right.
No, there are a lot of people.
He broke the rules.
You don't think people are cheating all the time?
He got caught.
Oh yeah, but okay, yeah, he got caught. It's like the Astros. Everybody does that. But
exactly.
I mean, they got caught, and it's hypocritical for others to go against them. But
do I think the Astros there's an asterisk beside the Astros, which World Series too? There he is. There he is.
This asterisk bullshit pisses me off. You know why? Because in 1999, when the Spurs won the title, Phil Jackson had to go, well, I'll put an asterisk by it. Everybody still played the game because it was half a season, had the lockout. That asterisk shit's bullshit.
Okay, hold on. There's a difference there. That was something that all of them were affected by. Or you know what I mean? It's not like, let's say, how do I want to say this?
They were all playing for it, but Barry Bonds is individual. That's what you mean.
Exactly.
There's
rules there for a reason.
I'm under the impression. So you think the Astros should have an asterisk by their?
Yes, I do.
Oh, please.
Look, okay, let's say, yeah, you're from Texas, so Houston. Yeah, I get it. Let's say,
no, I'm not a.
What's the team you hate the most?
I don't hate any teams in baseball.
Ball crap. There's got to be the Cardinals rival or something like that.
I don't like. Okay, the Cubs. Okay, the Cubs.
Okay, if the Cubs won the World Series, it was stealing signals.
They were. That's how they won it a few years ago.
Here we go.
How do you think they were all the freaking Ohio? Cleveland was up on them and they came back. That had to be cheating. Just kidding.
Oh yeah, of course. But anybody you talk to that watched the game,
not me.
Anybody you talk
to. Anybody. That's not true. Do you take those Cy Youngs away from Roger Clemens then?
Yes, I would.
No.
You cheated.
Everybody cheats, dude.
But you don't get caught.
So you're saying as long as okay. What
about you? No, I'm not going to bring that up. I'm not going to bring that up. No, this is something totally outside of the sports world. I'm not going to bring it up though. But because I said I wasn't going to do that on this podcast. I wasn't going to bring any politics or anything into it. But
we can talk. I know.
No, I'm not going to bring that in. I don't want that on this podcast. But
you were thinking it.
How do I put this? Okay. Let's say you make it big as a writer. You're writing all this stuff. You get awards for it. They find out you plagiarized it. What are they going to do? Are they going to take the awards away from you?
Okay, that's a little stretch there.
What is it?
Plagiarism? I mean, when you plagiarize, you're taking somebody else's work. Hitting a home run, that's an individual stat.
But you're getting help to do it. You're getting illegal help to do it.
Did Barry Bonds get caught cheating?
Yes.
He wasn't like Sammy Sosa and corked the bat. Now that's something.
What's the difference?
Roger Clemens.
Red flag. What is the difference?
He's a
Was
Cub.
that not illegal help? Exactly.
Yeah, but Barry Bonds' bat was a cork. He still had to hit the ball. Whatever.
You don't know. I mean, we never saw
either.
If Barry Bonds corked the bat,
you don't know either. And you don't know if Barry Bonds injected. It's just speculation. He never had a drug test to do it. Look at Lance Armstrong. He cheated all the time. Never got caught. How do we know he wasn't?
He got caught. He got
caught after.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what does everybody say about that? He's not. Yeah. So.
Lance Armstrong and Barry Bonds are both dicks.
I'm done with it. In my opinion, if you get caught doing something illegal, you should have either it's struck away. You're not a record holder no more. I will always say Barry Bonds is not.
And that's fine.
Aaron Judge, I hate the Yankees. I despise the Yankees. But if Aaron Judge gets up there and hits more than Roger Maris or whoever's next in line, not McGuire, not Sosa, not Bonds. If he hits more than Maris, I'll consider him as much as I dislike the Yankees.
How bad was that when McGuire and then went in front of Congress and he started crying. I was like, what? There's no crying in baseball. I was done with McGuire at that time. I was like, dude.
Jeez.
And I know
Boy, he has really disappeared. You don't see him anywhere anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, the Cardinals had a hell of a when he was our hitting coach before he went to the Dodgers. They were great, and he's a good coach. I'll give him that.
Hey, buddy, go around the corner. I got something for you. Yeah. Okay. Allegedly, whatever. Big Mac.
It's like Bobby. I think Bobby Heenan said it. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's the truth. But when you get caught, you're fried. So let's get off the sports for a little while.
How are your Steelers and
Steelers suck, dude. Right now, you got I hate to say it, but I'm gonna rob a line from South Park. Blame Canada. Blame Canada.
Why is that? I'm not familiar. Why?
The offensive coordinator's name is Matt Canada, and he is terrible. God,
would you trade us Kellen Moore for him? You can have him.
I would trade you Kellen Moore for him because what you're gonna get is little dink passes. Don't go down the field. Don't go down the field and make it so predictable. The defense is sitting there waiting for you when you're at. Look, everybody gave Roethlisberger such a hard time last year about, oh, he's washed up. He's washed up. And Roethlisberger came out the other day and said, guess what? 2 different quarterbacks, same system, same results. What does that tell you?
There were people when Dak got hurt, one in Roethlisberger. I was like, really?
Nah, Roethlisberger would never put a star on his helmet.
Troy Aikman almost became an Eagle. It can happen. Money's right.
Yeah, that's who you got to watch out for in your division is the Eagles. Yep.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll
see. You're playing the Commanders this
I'm
week,
I'm not saying the Cowboys will beat them, but I just don't think I think they're overrated. I think anybody comes out of the East. Hell, we looked good last year too. We looked good last year too. It's the East, dude. We're the NFL least. That's what we're called.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but the defense is good.
We'll see. I'm
got a ways to go.
I mean, I'm not an Eagle fan, but I don't know if the Cowboys can beat them. Hell, I didn't think they'd win another game after they won last week. But hell, what do I know? It's great when what I do is I'm not very optimistic, and I've seen this movie before.
You're using reverse psychology. I know.
I've seen this movie before. They get a couple wins behind them. Oh baby, we're back. It's that Cowboy's girlfriend. She goes out, cheats on you, breaks your heart, comes back knocking on that door. Hey Jay,
you don't want to get your hopes.
I ain't gonna let that Cowboy girlfriend in, baby. I ain't doing it.
All right,
and you know me that I'm not the delusional Cowboy fan either. I'm very harsh on them.
Yeah, you are. You're right about that.
I'm not I don't belong to the cult. I mean,
You didn't drink the Kool-Aid.
No, I did not. So,
news in the music world. They had they had the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert, memorial concert, whatever you want to call it, in London. Now, last night they had one in California, and man, what a lineup they had. I mean, I'm just looking at it. I know some of you Rush fans would love that. They had some of the members of Rush. Wolfgang Van Halen was there. Def Leppard, who sang "Photograph" with Miley Cyrus. Wow.
Party in the USA, brother.
Yeah, Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee were there.
No Vince?
No Vince. Derek Day sang vocals. So, woo.
Who's Derek Day?
I have no clue who he is, but
I thought you were gonna I know who that is.
It's some new. I'm sure it's a newer group that I don't know any about. Joan Jett,
son of Doris.
Who?
Son of Doris.
Doris Day. Not Doris Day. Jane's Gang was back again.
God, they still alive.
Yeah. Pink did Barracuda with Nancy Wilson, which was
I like Pink. I think she's cool.
Yeah. She could handle that song. I mean, there was Stuart Copeland, the former drummer for the Police. He was there. Alanis Morissette, Chad Smith,
Chili Peppers,
Sebastian Bach, and Geezer Butler and Lars Ulrich did 2 Black Sabbath songs.
Which ones?
Supernaut and Paranoid.
Ooh, I love Supernaut. That's off Volume 4. It's one of my favorite. That's my favorite probably one of my favorite Sabbath albums.
And then let's see, some of the guys from Soundgarden did a couple of songs.
Wow.
Brian May and Roger Taylor with different. Pink did "Somebody to Love" with them. Justin Hawkins did "We Will Rock You" and "Under Pressure."
Damn, this sounds better than the one that was in
I mean, you
UK.
looking at this. Okay, this is weird here. Foo Fighters, they did they finished it up, of course, and Shane Hawkins, Taylor's son, did 2 songs with them. But there's one up here. They did "Creep," the Radiohead version of "Creep."
That's a good song.
With Dave Chappelle.
Oh,
and Pat Willis. Dave Chappelle.
You know why, Stevie?
Why?
Because F-em, that's why.
Yeah, I got you. So yeah, this one sounded better than the London one. There was a lot of people. I'm gonna have to look at. I haven't had a chance to look it up on YouTube to see the clips yet. So
the London one had Paul McCartney. That was a big deal.
Yeah, that was a big deal there. Yeah, anytime you get one of the remaining Beatles. Well,
I saw Paul McCartney back in 2014 or 15. He did like a little arena here in Austin. He was playing places never been. Dude's timeless. I mean, he's got a young band, of course, man, but you talk about a rock star. God.
Yeah. I'm looking here. Last, on our other podcast, Final Score, my co-host over there, Matthew, went to see, it was Alice in Chains, Bush, and I'm not sure who else was on he went to see it last night, but Alice in Chains was joined by Gavin Rossdale from Bush to sing "Man in the Box."
Oh, nice.
That sounds pretty cool.
That singer of Alice in Chains, man, you can hardly tell, man.
No, that's just like how it was with Journey.
Wouldn't know that.
Yeah, of course you would. But
and I have no regrets.
No regrets.
Was that
anyway?
No regrets.
Anything else in the news you want to talk about before we move on to the main event?
So okay. I haven't heard anything. Gene said that they're going to do 900 dates. Has there been anything? Because it looks like the cruise, and then after that's over.
Right now, it's just the cruise. I haven't seen any dates, so maybe Paul pulled a plug on the 100 dates.
You know how Gene always kind of talks out of his ass, so it's like, yeah, we're going to do 100 dates, and maybe he thought that 50 dates ago.
He doesn't make that call. That's Paul's baby. So Jimmy Buffett is hospitalized. Doctors told singer-songwriter he needs to take the rest of the year off.
Cut down on the salt too, man. Huh?
Cut down on them cheeseburgers in paradise.
Yeah, because he's looking for that lost sacred salt.
Exact information about what is ailing Buffett is not yet known. His team specifically states that due to health issues and brief hospitalization, Jimmy will need to refrain from touring for the rest of the year. On doctor's orders, he must take this time to recuperate and heal. He looks forward to getting back on the stage next year.
Jimmy Buffett is funny. You ever listen to Howard Stern?
Not much, no.
He has a guy that does like Man on the Street. He's interviewed like the Insane Clown Posses, the Juggalos or whatever.
Right.
Well, he interviewed a bunch of parrot heads. I guess they were some of the most racist, vulgar people. It's like, God, you think these people be all laid back and stuff, man? They are just, man, god awful. It's funny. Yeah. I never would expect that from like parrot heads. I would think they would just be all laid back and buzzing.
So let's get right down to the main event. So what we're going to do here is take this year, 1980, and we'll go right down the line. Next time we do one, it'll be 81 and so on and so on.
We can't do like 84 next, man, and just skip around?
No, don't skip around. That's crappy.
Shuffle, bro.
No, I don't shuffle.
I'm jazzing with you, brother.
Shuffle the music.
Well, if we do that, we could put an asterisk next to it. Like, stay tuned for next week.
We'll exactly. Asterisk. They cheated. Yeah. So we're taking 1980, and what we're doing, we're taking instead of top 10, because we've got 3 different categories: top 5 singles from 1980, top 5 albums from 1980, and top 5 movies from 1980. So
that's a big step for us, Stevie. We're going up 5.
15. Top
we're
15.
We're going from 10 to 15, man.
And I only have like 80 honorable mentions now. So
You probably remember 1980 more than I do. Like I said, I was
1980, we were talking before we started recording. 1980 is kind of the year when I was looking through some of this stuff. It's kind of the year I really started, I was a Kiss fan before then, but now I'm getting into the music and thankfully, of course you didn't have Apple Music, you didn't have any of this stuff like Spotify, you didn't have the internet. So your biggest thing was radio, little jam box, whatever you had.
with a little tape deck to record your songs.
Yeah. And the biggest thing for me where I heard a lot of music was on the weekends, on Sunday, Casey Kasem's American Top 40. I mean, yeah, you sat there with the record and the pause button on, waiting for the good song to come on and hit pause. You had it. You go back and listen to it later on. But
It's kind of different for me because like I said, I kind of grew up different from you. I mean, I knew Kiss from their makeup. That's it. But
yeah,
what I kind of, at this time, I was kind of more into kind of country music.
right.
And I remember my grandparents I lived in Missouri at the time. And I remember they would watch, I mean, it was, of course, not when it came out, but on PBS, because we only had like 4 stations.
Oh, that's what we had too.
We had the Grand Ole Opry. They would show the thing in the barn. Was that the?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we'd watch. And I grew up on Merle, George Jones, Johnny Cash. I mean that's the stuff I grew. That's what I remember about 1980. Now my lists reflect kind of more me now than then, because then I'll get to this when I talk about one of the movies. But I mean, it's like I didn't have the perception of what was going on at the time.
Yeah,
I was only 8, so I haven't got much better. 42 years later.
You haven't. You really haven't. Yeah, I was 7 at the time, so I was right behind you. But I don't know. I don't know. It just seemed like music really stuck out to me. I think it was my mom was kind of responsible for it because she listened to Elvis every weekend when she was off, and we were like, okay. And I just went from there, and radio, and back when the radio actually had live DJs and you could call in and talk to them and request a song or something like that, or do a dedication or whatever. But we're going to get right into it. First thing we're going to do, I'm going to go just get some of the big stories that happened in music in 1980. So looking through January through March, Paul McCartney, you remember this? Arrested in Tokyo for possession of a half a pound of marijuana.
Yep.
And then the remaining of it, McCartney's and Wings tour was then canceled. So that was on January 16. 9 days later, he was released and ejected from the country. So the Beatles,
Japan don't mess around, brother. They don't mess around.
Yeah, you get the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Also, February 19th, Bon Scott, lead singer of AC/DC, dies in London. Although common folklore cites pulmonary aspiration of vomit as the cause of the death, the official cause is listed as acute alcohol poisoning and death by misadventure.
Car crash.
It wasn't a car crash, was it?
I thought he was driving and he started choking. That's what it wasn't.
Maybe so. I have never heard that. So speaking more arrests, Ron Wood of the Rolling Stones and his wife arrested for cocaine possession on the Caribbean island of St. Martin. They're set free after spending 5 days in custody due to the inability of authorities to prove the cocaine in the apartment belonged to either of them. Like they were going to admit it. Oh yeah, it was.
That's mine. Yeah, that's
my
mine.
cocaine. So Grammy Awards, the 22nd annual Grammy Awards, hosted by Kenny Rogers. Billy Joel's 52nd Street wins Album of the Year. The Doobie Brothers wore the Full Belize with both Record of the Year and Song of the Year. And Ricky Lee Jones wins Best New Artist. Could you name a Ricky Lee Jones song? No. I know I couldn't.
He must have done something right, though, I guess.
It's a girl. It's a woman, bud.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
So, moving on. Let's see. Brian Johnson in April the 1st. Now, Bon Scott dies in February. So,
March, April.
April the 1st, Brian Johnson is made the new lead singer of AC/DC.
I read a book. I don't know who it was by, but I heard on a podcast a guy that wrote a book on Bon Scott. they were close to getting rid of him. That's what I
They
heard.
must have been. I mean, to
Because
do it that quick.
Because I think they were looking to get, because he wasn't meshing with the band evidently,
Yeah.
or he was looking to leave, one of the two. But yeah, they had Brian Johnson on their radar before probably that happened.
Do you think? I mean, it's AC/DC. Do you think they were the party group or they partied as much as he did?
No,
Yeah,
I think
I
he
don't
was.
think so either. I think it was.
Yeah, I think that's why they've kind of lasted, is because they're. I mean, Angus. I mean, you see him; he's always smoking a cigarette, probably drinking beer, but he's not probably a hardcore drug user.
Yeah. So this will be.
Did he die at 27? Did Bon Scott die at 27?
I think so.
Wow.
I think so. It didn't
That's
say.
a great. We got to do a show on that, man. That's just crazy, crazy coincidence.
Lead vocalist Michael Stipe. This will fit into what the Shout Out Loudcast their album review this month, which I was like,
it's a good album, brother.
Look, the reason I don't like it, it was just played. My best friend loved it and played it over and over again until I was sick of it.
You weren't like Sonny Pooney using it to get laid?
No, I think that was the last thing I would use.
Have you listened to the episode yet?
No, I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I like REM, so I mean,
I don't mind. I don't mind. Like, Everybody Hurts is good. The next, that Monster was good. I did like that. I don't mind REM, but that, I'm telling you, that was just you don't know.
It was a pretty downlifting song.
It was.
I think what really on that album that really, I know we're getting off, and I'll probably comment this on the Salak, that Everybody Hurts. When that happened, I had a good friend of mine. I talked about him when we did our Tesla interview. That when I went and bought a Psychotic Supper, he was killed in a car accident around that time. And I remember that song. They shot that video, if I'm not mistaken, here on the one on the freeway.
Right.
That's here in San Antonio when they were doing the construction. And I just remember that happened around Tommy's death. So that song is always
stuck in your head.
Yeah, and I liked REM. I like their stuff. Losing My Religion, I love that song. I never get tired of it. But man, that song, and I saw that come up. I was like, that's a good selection, because grunge was taking over. I wasn't into grunge. I really dug REM at that time, especially like Monster, the next album. I mean,
yeah, Monster. To me, and I guess it's just cause of fatigue with Automatic for the People.
Yeah,
but Monster. It could be. I like some of the songs on Monster better than I did the Automatic for the People. Anyway,
I think a lot of the.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, when grunge took over, I think I went into a lot of the bands like them and U2, because they weren't. I wasn't a big fan, except for Alice in Chains and Soundgarden at the time and STP, but I wasn't a big fan at the time. But
so on April 5th of 1980, Michael Stipe, Peter Buck, and Bill Berry and bassist Mike Mills play their first show. They became REM. So, Black Sabbath on April 25th released Heaven and Hell, the first album to feature Ronnie James Dio on vocals.
Love it.
And May 4th, America's Top 10, the television version of radio's American Top 40.
Oh, I remember that.
Casey Kasem debuts in syndication that week. Yeah, that was pretty cool. June 20th.
Because you would see that every once in a while. It's in syndication, so it would pop up sometime.
Come on.
It wouldn't come on forever. Hey, there it is.
Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, it would come on. And then another show we're going to talk about in just a minute started that year that I used to watch.
They still got the Casey Kasem Top 10 on Sirius XM. He does the 70s and 80s. That just shows you the. I mean, I know the guy is buried in a country he never visited to when he was alive. You know that story, right?
Yeah.
But man, you talk about a legacy, man. They still play those. I mean, on the 8.
There's a local radio station here that on Sunday nights at like 7:00 they'll replay one of the weekly episodes, the top 40 episodes from on the radio from it. So,
I love that.
June 25th, the Sony Walkman goes on sale in the United States.
Game changer.
Yes. And Kiss plays its first show with new drummer Eric
Palladium
Carr at the Palladium. So let's see what else. July 25th, over 5 months after the death of the lead singer Bon Scott, AC/DC released Back in Black, their first album with Brian Johnson. The album's success will lead it to become the second highest selling album of all time and the highest selling studio album by any band to date. The Eagles end their tour with a contentious show in Long Beach, California. They would not play again together until 1994.
You speaking of AC/DC, how fast they released that album and stuff. But you look at Def Leppard. I mean, how long did it take them between? I mean, but when was it when
Hysteria? Yeah,
Hysteria to
it
there.
took a long time, buddy.
Yeah. But even a death couldn't stop AC/DC. I mean,
No,
they had Rick Allen's lost his arm and all that stuff, but man, AC/DC just soldiered through.
Yeah, they had to, Def Leppard had to change. They changed producers. They recorded a lot, and then the producer wasn't up to snuff what they say, and then of course got Mutt Lange, and the rest is history. So August 31st, the other show I was talking about that I watched every Saturday night, Solid Gold, a new music television series, premieres in syndication. Watched it every week. September 25th, John Bonham, drummer of Led Zeppelin, was found dead by bandmate John Paul Jones.
How much Jack Daniels did he drink?
Jeez. Let's see. November 21st, the Eagles' Don Henley is arrested when cocaine, quaaludes, and marijuana found his hotel room after a 16-year-old prostitute has drug-related seizures. Woo! Henley is also subsequently charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor. After pleading no contest, he was fined $2,500 and put on 2 years probation.
Yeah, but he won't forgive Don Felder.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So December 4th, Led Zeppelin disbands following the death of drummer John Bonham. And that, December 8th, of course, a big moment in music history. John Lennon shot to death outside his apartment building in New York City at 10:50 p.m.
Yeah, I remember that. I was living in Missouri, and I remember John Lennon. I remember the Beatles because my mom listened to them, and I just remember that I was flying down here to Corpus from Missouri, and I remember I watched the Today Show, and they were talking about that, and I was like, I just remember I didn't really know much about him. I mean, honestly, I knew more about Paul McCartney because he sang with Michael Jackson. But I mean, I just remember just like it was. I guess that's the closest to what Elvis kind of like, because I don't really remember Elvis dying, and I think for a lot of people that age is how I felt when Prince died, because Prince was a big loss for me. I mean, I liked Michael Jackson, but I outgrew.
Yeah.
And I liked Prince, and kind of I guess I like Olivia Newton-John. I mean, it's just your icons are dying, and John Lennon was a big icon. Big.
And both Michael and Prince went, way before their time. But I guess you could call, Prince was the scary thing about John Lennon was how he went. Somebody shooting him right on the streets in New York. He just
signed an autograph for him too.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that somebody was crazy enough to do that.
But that's the thing about it is that, and that's another thing that they use in the Satanic Panic, because he claimed the music made him do it. That's bullshit. Ain't no demons and no music.
No, give me a break.
But I just think about, we never. How many people did not get to see the Beatles? Did not.
You think about, okay, Harrison. When did Harrison die? It's been.
He died in the 2000s. He died of lung cancer or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Or something like that. You think about how many, if Lennon had lived a normal life, you think about how big it would have been if the Beatles had done a reunion. Just a one night show. Good Lord. And that, that guy took that away. I'm not a big Beatles fan. I like some of their stuff, but still, that would have been monumental. I mean, they could have done the whole build up. Yeah. And let me tell you, I listened to, on my album challenge, Double Fantasy, the John Lennon album. Oh my good Lord. Yeah, the Lennon songs are good, but
you don't like Yoko Ono?
Oh my God, dude. It was like listening to across the chalkboard. I cringed every time. And I think, listen, if you look at it, and I think every other song, Yoko had something to do with it, but they were the shortest songs on the album, and I was like, Lennon knew what he was doing, or either the producers knew what they were doing. Okay, we're gonna mix this down and make this as short as we can.
You know,
And,
it's funny. It's funny about John Lennon is that I remember I identified a lot with Julian because John Lennon left and he had another family, kind of like what I went through.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that Behind the Music, and God dang, am I that bitter? I mean, he was bitter, but he watched that, I guess, the Get Back stuff, and I guess it gave Julian a kind of a new sense.
Yeah.
Because it looked like John was trying to make headway with them. He was trying to, I mean, it's like just, it's just life. You try to get your life together and something comes, either kills you or knocks you on your ass. I mean, that's just life. But that was, and honestly, I don't remember John Bonham or Bon Scott because I really didn't discover them until years later.
Yeah,
So,
that's the same here.
The John Lennon thing was definitely, I mean, no offense to the other two, but man, John Lennon was just an icon.
I mean, I knew the Beatles from my dad listened to the Beatles. I knew of the Beatles. My dad didn't listen to AC/DC that I know of. I never saw did he listen to Dirty D's Done Dirt Cheap or listen to Led Zeppelin.
You didn't have the Jack, Stevie?
No. So here's where it gets good. We do our top 5. Do you want to do? We're going to just go like singles first, then albums, then movies. How about that?
Singles. How about we do singles, movies, and then albums?
You had to be different, didn't you?
Yeah, because if you do the singles and albums, it's just music together. Have a little mix up.
Well, let's just do it then.
But are we going to talk about anything else in pop culture? Can I talk about a few things?
Yes, you can.
Before we go on. Okay. John Lennon was killed. Another thing that happened as a rookie, and it was highlighted in that great HBO documentary movie or whatever.
30 for 30.
The Lakers win the NBA championship with a rookie, Magic Johnson, against the 76ers. This one hit close to home where I lived in Missouri at the time, Mount St. Helens. That blew up, and you had, I think, 50 or 60 people died, and it was like for 9 hours that damn thing went off. I think it was one of the biggest natural disasters at the time in the United States. CNN launches. Ted Turner launched that. That's that's a good thing he did. And this one I probably remember because I was a little George Brett fan. The Phillies beat the Royals in the World Series. Ronald Reagan became president. Elected president. The Far Side debuted. I didn't know that.
Far Side rules.
The Steelers beat who?
Who?
The Rams for the title.
I know who they beat. I wanted to see. I thought you were going to say Cowboys. I was like, you're a year off. Dude.
No, I know I was. I didn't say that. Kramer versus Kramer wins Best Picture. And knowing the both of us, I doubt it's on any of our lists.
Far from it.
Pac-Man debuted. The biggest video game of all time, evidently, money-wise. This one hits closer to home. Hurricane Allen pretty much went up, hit Corpus all the way up Texas, but I was living in Missouri, so I probably didn't know anybody. And probably my favorite thing of one of my favorite things of the 80s, we found out who shot JR. That was the hot Kristen. That was a hot sister-in-law, Kristen, who was found dead. Who was found dead in the pool later on.
Who killed her? You remember?
Who did kill her? I don't remember that.
I don't know. I was seeing if you remember because I was thinking about.
I think it was some jealous ex-boyfriend. Okay. Now, before that, I had some notable births in 1980 that I went through. Randy Orton, the Viper. Jordana Brewster.
Yes.
She was in Fast and Furious. As the World Turns.
Yep.
Richard Jefferson, who played for the Spurs for a while, that got a lot of grief. Spurs fans hate him. I don't know why. Olivia Munn. Dolph Ziggler. Cowboy. When I went to a Cowboys game in the I think it was the Quincy Carter years. It was.
Oh, sorry.
The most popular Cowboy was Roy Williams. Remember Roy Williams?
Yes. There were two Roy Williams at the time.
He was the wide receiver, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a safety and a wide receiver.
Yeah. 31, that's a wide receiver, right? I wasn't a big fan of his. Chris Pine, Captain Kirk.
Yep.
The Miz. Here's a name for you. I don't know if you remember this one, but I do. Christy Hemme.
Oh,
The
yeah.
redhead. She was one.
She worked with WWE first and went to TNA.
Yeah.
I saw her in person at
Playboy.
No, I didn't see her at Playboy.
She was in Playboy
at a TNA pay-per-view.
She looked good in person?
Yeah.
She's pretty.
Yeah, she's nice looking.
And last, Jake Gyllenhaal from was it?
Taylor,
I was talking about
Taylor Swift song.
I was talking to my boss today about Jake Gyllenhaal. I was giving him my list of what we do, and he didn't remember Jake Gyllenhaal. I go, Brokeback Mountain. I don't know why that's the only movie I could think of.
Oh no, you didn't, dude.
I know. I was like, oh my god.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's kind of my stuff. So I mean, that's not everything, of course.
No, of course.
So,
but 1980, like I said, 7 years old, and of course, movie wise, you're gonna see my big influence on that list, and one of them is probably one, like you said, that would be Me Now instead of Me Back Then, of course. But yeah, and one of my albums would be Me Now, but most of my songs are me from back then.
So back then, not now.
Yeah. So what do you want to lead off with?
I just got a text from a friend of mine. You know what it is?
What?
I have to share it because I'll forget it later. Dudes will give up on a good woman, but not the Dallas Cowboys. That is the damn truth.
That's the truth for
That's
sure.
a good one. Okay, can we start off with singles, then do movies, and then albums?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. My first single, I think it was in the movie American. Okay, are we doing 5? We're doing 5 up, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, I heard the song. I was about to give my number 1. Okay, I heard this song the other day. I even put it on my That 80s page. What a great song, man! And I had forgotten about it till I heard it on That 80s on 8. Back on My Feet Again by the Babies. God, that's a good song. Anything the Babies do are great.
You know what? That's a band, that a lot of people don't remember.
It's too bad.
You had Jonathan Cain, you had John Waite, who went on together in Bad English later on. But they don't get along. They despise each other.
Well, it doesn't sound like who was it don't get along?
John Waite and Jonathan Cain.
Jonathan Cain doesn't get along with Steve Perry either. So,
well, I mean, Neil Sean doesn't get along with Steve Perry either now.
Sounds like nobody gets along with Steve Perry.
Steve Perry's off in an island by itself.
Yeah, but you know what? He'll be all right without them.
Yep. There'll be someone else. He keeps telling himself. So, but yeah, back the Babies, I just remember, you see if you remember this. I don't remember. Back, I used to get like football cards. That was something big. Every time we'd go to the grocery store, the drugstore, wherever they had them, my mom would like, okay, I'll buy you a pack. Well, there were cards with music groups in it. And it was like 4 or 5 different groups that they had different, pictures of. And Kiss was one of them, of course, so I had to get it. But the Babies were mixed in there. And I was like,
these were Kiss trading cards?
They were not just Kiss. They were not like the Donruss Kiss cards.
Okay.
It was a different company, but they had different groups in there. The Babies was one of them. Yeah, the Babies was one of them because I remember when I used to go through my cards and I was like, who the heck are the Babies? But anyway,
Paul Stanley probably liked that because that's one of his favorites.
Yeah. So the Babies make you on your top 5.
Yes, they do.
All right, my number 5.
I probably didn't know the song back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I was probably listening to Puff the Magic Dragon around that time. I don't remember,
My number 5, I was actually listening to this song back then because, like I said, I was big on the radio, listening to stuff on the radio. This guy was on fire at that time. Ride Like the Wind, Christopher Cross.
Christopher Cross. You know where he's from, right?
Where?
San Antonio, Texas.
see, there is one thing I like about Texas right now. Yeah. I'm a huge Christopher Cross fan. I love all this. That whole album. I think, my dad had been working at the school that I went to, and I was like 6 or 7 at the time. So I would go over to like the ball games and the practices over there while he was over there, and I listened to. And these people, they would listen to music while they were practicing sometimes, and Christopher Cross was one they listened to. And they had that tape played continuously in there. And later on, I think my brother must have got the cassette, and I started listening to that. But Ride Like the Wind, of course, Dickie Roberts. If you ever see the movie Dickie Roberts, he does a big dance sequence to that. But Christopher Cross, Ride Like the Wind is my number 5.
That's like I think it was a huge song that it sold or something like that, some ungodly number.
Oh, yeah. So, number 4 for you.
Ooh, I'm driving my life away, looking for a better way.
Eddie freaking Rabbit.
Yes, sir.
Freaking Rabbit.
And that song, I remember as a kid because I grew up around a lot of country music, and that was a big hit at the time.
Eddie Rabbit kind of did, but you remember Eddie Rabbit kind of crossed over because Eddie Rabbit was on Solid Gold a lot. He was doing that.
I didn't know that.
I Love a Rainy Night.
Good song.
Driving My Life Away. Then he did that. I don't know if you ever heard that duet he did with Crystal Gale at You and I.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Just You and I.
He does a great. Eddie Rabbit was great.
That should be our theme song, Stevie. Just You and I.
You've talked about Brokeback Mountain and Just You and I.
You getting your hopes up, Stevie?
Yeah. Stay away from Texas. You wonder why I don't like Texas. Hey, how did the Longhorns do last week? You didn't mention that.
About as good as the Steelers did. Texas Tech.
They scored more than the Steelers did.
Texas Tech, man. They were up 2 touchdowns. I mean, I was having such a good week, Stevie, and that just
they ruined it. So,
what was your college team? Did they lose?
Yes, they did.
Okay,
but we're not expecting.
Oh, whatever. Yeah,
we're not ranked in the top 25, and
we're not either anymore.
Not anymore. All right. So this is a catchy song, and this is like a one-hit wonder, my number 4, but it was so catchy back then. If you like pina coladas,
really,
Escape, the Pina Colada song by Rupert Holmes. This was, and I think it got so big. What was it? Tropicana. That Suntan Lotion ended up using that as their jingle. It's stupid stuff that I remember, like useless information again. But yeah,
song always reminds me of Detroit Rock City when they're in the elevator. and that guy didn't get the tickets.
Yeah. But and now of course back then I just liked the way the song sounded. Now you listen to it and that's kind of a weird situation. Don't you think if you answer a personal ad that both you and your wife are kind of looking at each other like, oh, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why are you putting a personal ad? Why are you answering? Or maybe they're just girlfriend and boyfriend, but still.
Is that what the song's about?
Yeah. No. He's talking about getting bored with his lady, and he sees this personal ad in the paper. It said, if you like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain, all this stuff. So he answers it, and ends up, when he answers it, meets it's his girlfriend.
Ooh. Whoa. I don't think I've ever listened to that song enough to know that, Stevie.
Yeah. I got to listen to it one day. I was like, this is pretty it would be awkward. Yeah. But
I don't know who'd be more pissed.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to say. Who's gonna be the one? But yeah, Rupert Holmes. There's a name you don't hear very much.
Every time I hear Rupert, I think of the teddy bear on Family Guy. Yeah, Stewie. Rupert.
All right, number 3.
Stevie. We have to believe we are magic. Nothing can stand in our way. I love this song. Back then, I was a Olivia Newton-John fan, of course, since Grease. So I remember this one, and it's love her.
Rest
in peace.
I had a kid. He plays football for me, and he lives right down the street from me. So he comes over here and hangs out with my daughter. And we were watching, when he came in one day, we were watching Grease. He's like, "Oh, I don't like Grease." And I was like,
Get out of my house.
"What is wrong with you?" He said, the ending is stupid. When the car,
the ending is kind of stupid.
the car flies in the air. That's not
he's right.
believable. I said, okay. I said, you like the Avengers and stuff like that, right? Yeah. I said, so you believe a guy's going to dress in like an iron suit and fly around and stuff like that? Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, use your freaking imagination.
You're stretching there, Stevie.
No, I mean, really, though.
No, because Grease is
It's a
well.
movie.
Then,
It's
okay,
not a
you're right.
freaking-
Okay, you're right because they do break out in song throughout the movie, so it's not reality. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
I mean, come on. Really?
If that would have been like Kramer versus Kramer and they fly off in a car, yeah, okay.
that would have been kind of weird. Okay,
that would have a problem with that.
Divorce court and all this. We're gonna fly off in a car.
Did you ever see that? You ever see that movie?
I have never watched that movie.
My God, you talk about growing up divorced. My God, it was brutal, bro. I mean, it was brutal.
That's not something I want to sit through.
Yeah, I don't know why I watched it. I think I was just feeling sorry for myself. It was on AMC. Hey, I'll check this out. I mean, I was listening to a bunch of Automatic for the People next, I guess.
Okay, so
which I like. So
Olivia Newton-John, like you say, I was a big fan, of course, with Grease, and you follow after that. Maybe not so much with Xanadu, but
wasn't Magic off Xanadu?
Yeah, I think so.
Because Xanadu came out in '80, I think. So.
Yeah, but it was built up so much, and I mean, you didn't see a lot like you do nowadays, of course, with the internet. But Olivia Newton-John's got a new movie coming out. She's gonna sing in it, and it's got to be good. And ELO is gonna be in it too. So I mean,
she was on Solid Gold quite a bit too, right? I remember that.
Yes, she was. She got a big push from Solid Gold, which she didn't really need it, but
I know she's already a superstar.
Yes, exactly. So my number 3, like I said, this guy was on fire back then, and I'm a sucker for a ballad, and he sang one of the best ones. I would put it.
Torpedo Girl.
Yes, Ace Frehley, Torpedo Girl. No, Sailing, Christopher Cross. Yacht Rock.
You are a freaking Christopher Cross fan.
Freaking Sailing was great, man. I still love listening to that song. And he was on Solid Gold a lot too. But
still from San Antonio.
Yep, still from San Antonio. But he's had some health issues here lately. But I think he's recovered from it. He actually, when I did my bracket, one of my brackets on Twitter, like the bracket battle with the top 40 or top 64, his song got through to the second round, and he liked it on Twitter. So I was pretty happy about that. But Sailing, you gotta say that's one of the best ballads out there. I mean,
yeah, good song.
Yeah. All right, number 2 for you.
Number 2 for me came from probably my favorite show at the time. This guy is known for always hanging out with Willie. Waylon Jennings, Just a Good Old Boys.
Just a good old boy.
Ain't mean no harm. That was probably my favorite show.
The Balladeer. He was also
what did the Dukes of Hazzard start at 79, right? So it was in high gear at the time.
Yeah. So yeah, he was. A lot of people didn't realize he was the narrator on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, I did.
Oh, I did too. I always knew that.
I was about to text you on this, and I was like, "Well, should we do our favorite top 10 TV or top 5 TV shows too?" I was like, "No, if I do that, we'll be here for free in 5 hours."
Yeah.
But Dukes of Hazzard was probably my favorite show at the time.
Dukes of Hazzard was probably right up there because I had all the stuff. They came out, of course, with the action figures in the General Lee, which would probably be worth a fortune right now. It's that they took all of that off. But
I think that I thought John Snyder had a pretty good. I know it's later in the '80s, but he had a pretty good country career. He had he had some good songs, man. Short Walk Between Heaven and Hell. He had Country Girls. He had a good. I mean, I thought he had. You didn't like the '80s though, but I did.
Yeah, you liked the '80s. I did. I'm not familiar with it. I can't.
But you like Journey, so I'll just leave it at that too. So.
You like Torpedo Girl. So.
Yeah, it's Torpedo Girl's better than anything Journey ever did. Just kidding. Better than most of the stuff Journey did.
Whatever. What? Oh my God, dude. You were really biased against Journey. Number 2 for me. And I remember my brother getting this on a 45 record and playing it. It's a good song, but it's more nostalgic for me because I remember hearing it. I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. And then you hear it on the radio and all this stuff. I said, well, I can listen to this anytime I want to, but it's still rock and roll to me. Billy Joel.
Oh, good song.
Yeah. And
Is that the
trying
same
to,
album? That's the same album we won a Grammy for, right? Was
Yeah.
it?
I think so. But listen to all the little trends he names up there. Back in the day, you were like, "What the heck is he talking about?" Now, when I listen, I'm like, "Oh yeah, he was talking about that." But yeah, great song.
Great artist.
Yeah,
Love Billy Joel.
Billy Joel. If you listen to that, what is it? Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2? You get that CD or that is packed. I mean,
That's like one of the biggest sellers too.
Yes.
I saw how much it sold. It's up there with the Eagles.
Yes, it's right up there. But
Wow.
that's one of those that you could just put on and listen to the whole way through.
And he's a songwriter. That's what's great about him.
Yeah, he is. He's a great.
I have a feeling Mr. Joel will be making an appearance later on as we go through the 80s. I know on my list he will.
Yeah, I got you. So number 1 for you.
Okay, this is one of my crushes at the time, and I remember this wasn't the first video I ever saw her in. I don't know if Rapture became before this or after. I can't remember.
I know what this is.
But it's off American Gigolo. Roll Me in Designer Sheets. My God, Debbie Harry in 1980. My God, she was hot. She still looks pretty good. I mean, I kind of like that. I remember growing up, and I remember that I was on the school bus when I was living in Missouri, and there was this mom out there, and I thought she was pretty, but she had like her roots were showing, like she was blonde, but her roots were showing like it was two-tone. And this one girl goes, "Look at her. She's such trash. She lets her hair grow out." And I didn't think, and Debbie Harry was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Kind of with, kind of the punk kind of look. But I mean, back then, my God, you're letting your hair roots show. You're a slut. And I didn't have a problem with that. And I just remember her being really hot back then. And like I said, I don't remember when Rapture came out, but that's like kind of the first, I don't know if that was before or after.
I can't remember on that one.
But I just remember her looking so glassy-eyed and so stoned in that video. But she was like the first rap song that reached number 1.
Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, Call Me Blondie. Great band. I love Blondie.
Hey, Blondie. You said Call Me Blondie. Hey, Blondie.
Call Me Blondie, man. I used to be as a kid. Around this time I was, 1980, yeah, when I had hair.
See here. I'm going to see when Rapture was released. Because I remember, won't Fab Five Freddy, the one she talks about in the rap? It was released January 12th. It was the final single released off Auto American on January 12th, 1981.
So it's after this. Okay.
Yeah. The Tide is High was for that.
One way or another. That's a great band. Journey's a great band.
I remember when, Call Me was like three singles before Rapture. I remember when, and everybody remember from back in the day, my mom and dad were in that Columbia record and tape club. And I'm pretty sure it must have been the selection of the month that they didn't send the thing in and got it anyway. But Blondie, Eat to the Beat. There was a song on there called Dreaming that I liked a lot. And but Eat to the Beat, yeah, we had that album. And I was like, I don't remember my mom listening to Blondie, and I know Daddy didn't listen to Blondie, but that was one we always listened to. The Knack, you remember the Knack? Yeah, that was another one they got by not sending. That was a trick right there. They just figured, well, they're not going to want to go through the trouble to send this back in to say I don't want the selection of the month. So
that's how I got into U2, because we had Columbia House and. My mom didn't send in the thing and we got Joshua Tree and I loved it. Yeah. And I was like, man, of course it's a great album. And I've liked U2 since, and it was a mistake, but I mean, that's after I got Asylum and all that stuff, and Joshua Tree was a selection. My mom wasn't that into it. It gave it to me and I loved it. And then it blew up.
So number 1 for me, and this is a repeat, the only repeat of the night. Miss Olivia Newton-John, Magic. Yes. I mean, what can you say? That was to me, I went through all of these. The year end of 1980, went through all of these, and Magic was the one that stood out for me. Just that voice. I mean, she could do no wrong at the time.
And she always seems like she's singing to you individually.
Yeah, and then
That's what I was doing.
after Magic, that from the 80 to 80, what 6 or 7, she was like on fire. Physical,
Yeah, when she did Physical, man, and that was a big controversy.
Yes.
And I think what a big controversy with those two guys holding hands walking off. I'm like, you get upset about that? Well, she's not Squeaky Queen. Well, that's what she was trying to do.
Yeah. So
I'm
sure.
But didn't Two of a Kind come out before? Did Two of a Kind come out after Physical?
I think that was after. Yeah, that was after Physical.
Yeah, because I love Olivia Newton-John's hair. She almost had that Rod Stewart.
Yeah. So I'm sure that'll come up.
I know it will.
Progress through the 80s.
And I think we'll start remembering our own memories. We'll have to look it up. Because I'll be honest with you, I had to Google all this stuff because
some of this stuff that I hadn't thought about, or these songs I haven't thought about in a long time, but it brought back memories. When I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that song. But so
it's like Paul Stanley says, oh yeah, I remember that song. That's it.
You know this one. Yeah. You know this one.
This is off Kiss Alive. It's like, yeah, a lot of them are.
Yeah, you really narrowed that down, Paul. So, all right. So next,
movies.
What's your number 5?
Number 5. I don't know if you've ever heard of this one. It's kind of a cult. It's kind of a cult hit. It's called "The Gods Must Be Crazy."
Yes,
you heard of it?
That is hilarious.
When they throw the Coke bottle up and hits the little kid in the head, and it's about this African bushman that they get this Coke bottle back when they make bottles of Coke, in hard bottles. And it's like he just was around the white people and he just thought we were just the craziest. Yeah. Like when he sees that really hot girl, she was the most hideous thing he ever saw in his life. Great movie. I love, and I mean, it shows you that. And my favorite part is the rhino that has to put the fires out.
They even made a sequel to it. I mean,
I don't think it did that good though.
It did do as well.
It came out like in the 90s, right? This came out. Quite a bit longer.
Crazy 2 came out like it was either the late 80s or early 90s when it came out.
Yeah, I think it was early 90s.
It was not. It was nothing compared to the first one.
Yeah, the first one was like it. I mean, it was. I mean, it was funny. If you haven't seen it, I mean, get it, man. It's a great movie.
Yeah. So number 5 for me, and this was the one that I guess me at the time at 7 years old wouldn't be watching, but as I got older, a friend of mine when I worked with, when I was in my early 20s at the grocery store that I worked at then, he was big into this, and we listened to the soundtrack a lot and their other music a lot. But he said, "You have never watched the movie." I said, "I've never watched the movie, but we're on a mission from God." The Blues Brothers, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, music in it, of course. You had Aretha Franklin in it. You had a lot of guests in there, but and how ridiculous was the ending with all the cop cars crashing into each other. But oh man, it was so hilarious.
Never seen it.
You've never seen it?
That doesn't interest me.
Yeah, you see, I was the same way. I was the same way before that. But watching it, I'll go back and watch it again, of course. But I think that the next movie they did you ever see Neighbors?
Mm-mm.
Belushi and Aykroyd. I think that was the last movie they did together. That was pretty funny too, but that was later on. But number 5 for me, the Blues Brothers.
Okay, number 4 for me. I posted the other day. It's probably my favorite horror movie of all time. George C. Scott. It's called The Changeling. Which you familiar with that one, Stevie?
No, not at all.
It's a ghost story. Like it's 1980. It's about a guy that he loses his wife and daughter, I think, in a car crash. He witnesses, and he buys this house where there's a spirit of a little boy. Very, very sad. I'll leave it at that. But I remember one time when I back in the 90s, back when Blockbuster was around, I went out to a little party, and I worked with all women back then, and like, hey, Orton, what's a good horror movie? So I gave them this one. And they didn't know it. They was, that's like so old and stuff. And I go, just give it a chance. So I left and let them watch it and go, like, why did you make us watch that movie? Oh my God, it was scary. I mean, it's. I think Tom even from Shout Out Loudcast said he likes it. I mean, and he's a horror buff. And he's more than I am.
He loves.
But this is a ghost story. It's really, really good. George C. Scott's, of course, good in anything he does. So I'd recommend you seeing that.
I might have to check that out someday.
Not the Changeling with Anna. If you see, what's her name? Who's the one who was married to Brad Pitt? She did the one Clint Eastwood directed.
Jolie.
Yeah, she did a movie called The Changeling, but it's a different movie. You look for the one with, I think it's a wheelchair with like fire around it. So yeah, I'd do that one.
Okay. My number 4, probably the longest intro in movie history, because I remember as a kid, I didn't go see it at the theater, but it came on like, I think ABC or somebody, one of those, you know, how the theater back then.
Deep Throat.
Huh? No.
Deep Throat.
No. Then you'd have to get through the opening credits, and it was like, you know, by that time, 10 minutes had gone by, and next commercial break before you actually see the first scene.
Was this a movie by Pink Floyd or something like their music?
No. Superman 2. Christopher Reeve battling General Zod and his 2 counterparts. It was, you know, I was big into like the superhero thing and other stuff we'll talk about later. But Christopher Reeve, to me, was like Superman. I mean, of course, that was the only Superman you knew. You saw him in the comic book, and he fit. I mean, that guy fit Superman better than anybody that's ever played him. I mean, the Clark Kent look, he pulled that off, and then the Superman look, he pulled that off as well. Margaret Kidder, as much as somebody give her a hard time about being cuckoo, yeah, she probably was, but she did a good job as Lois Lane.
She was hot in that time.
Gene Hackman, great.
Gene Hackman's great.
Ned Beatty was a great sidekick.
Mr. Luthor.
Yeah, and the funny part, you know, it was funny at the end when Superman tricks him into thinking he's gave up his powers and he's got it back. He ends up getting it back here. And
I was with you all along.
I was with you all along. Great plan. But yeah, probably the last good Superman movie out of that, because Superman 3, no. 4, definitely.
Superman 3 had Eddie Murphy.
No, Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor. What am I doing? Richard Pryor.
Eddie Pryor.
You know what's sad? I don't even drink anymore. I don't even drink anymore. I say that. No, Eddie Murphy. God, Richard Pryor. He was good in that movie.
It was okay. I got into it more because I was big into computers back then, and they had, you know, Richard Pryor. After watching Richard Pryor like Stir Crazy and Busting Loose and stuff like that, it's hard for me to believe that Richard Pryor was a computer genius. I mean,
The Toy. Remember The Toy?
Yeah, The Toy. The Toy was great with Jackie Gleason. But Superman 2. Man, I was big time in that. I had the trading cards. I think it was an actual magazine. I wish I still had all that, the magazine and stuff like that for it. I had the book. But yeah, Superman 2, my number 4.
Superman 2, my number 3.
Yes.
I think it's my favorite Superman movie because when they're fighting and
you
got that cab driver. This is gonna be good.
Yeah, I think it's better than the first one.
Nah, it's different.
You said it's the best Superman.
No, I said it's my favorite. I didn't say it was the best one. Superman. No, it's not the same thing.
No, I didn't say that. The thing that turns me off the first one, and I posted it on the Facebook page the other day, is the unrealistic fast running they had him do in the first one when he was.
It looked good at the time.
I was like,
it was
19. Something's wrong with that kid.
It was 1979, brother. I mean, come on, dude. It's Superman.
His legs didn't touch the ground. Come on, dude.
Dude, it's what they had at the time, dude.
Yeah, Star Wars. They had better.
If you watch Star Wars close, you'll see the strings. Okay.
The only thing I see the stormtroopers get hit in the head.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, my favorite. I don't know if it's the best because first, of course, has Marlon Brando in it. Are we echoing? Talking to somebody that hadn't seen The Godfather till a couple weeks ago. Whatever, dude.
I'm gonna send you from Krypton to planet Earth.
You have a problem with Marlon Brando, Stevie?
What was his name in that movie? I think Superman was Kal-El. He was Jor-El, right?
I don't know.
And they were ready to kill him.
Remember the mom was kind of hot.
Yeah. You remember that freaky little ship he was in when they sent him to Earth? Yeah. That was almost as bad as the egg Mort came from Orton.
Oh, dude. Don't compare that. Come on, dude.
I mean, a freaking egg, and then this thing looked like it had.
Dude, Mork and Mindy was a great show, dude.
I loved Mork and Mindy.
Okay.
Did you see the post I put up there about the animated Mork and Mindy the other day?
Is it coming out or is it new or what?
No, it was back in the 80s. They had a Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, and Fonz hour, like cartoon hour. Yeah.
It's so funny. I remember I loved Mork and Mindy, and I remember my dad found out about how vulgar he was.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like, well, he's not like that on the show, but I was forbidden to watch it.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, Superman 2, my number 3.
All right, so my number 3, and this is another one that was probably later on because I probably was at 7 years old. I probably wasn't allowed to watch it, but
you did.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't get to see it then, but later on in later years, I watched it, and I guess it had to be the edited down version I saw on TV, but Caddyshack. Oh my gosh. So many great, Rodney Dangerfield being
Ted Knight.
Ted Knight.
Bill Murray.
Well, and then Chevy Chase. Of course, the no. I just used to think that was so incredible. He would hit the golf balls. I was like, yeah, he's really doing that too. One take. No. And then Noonan, but Bill Murray kind of stole the show on that as the
with the Tootsie with the candy bar.
Yeah, with a candy bar, but his obsession with killing that freaking gopher. And
there was a second one, right?
Yes. Oh.
I never really saw the first one.
Really? You need to go back and watch. Yeah, you ought to go watch that. Yeah, I think you would love it.
Well, hell, I didn't see Porky's until like a year ago.
Porky's, oh my god!
I wasn't able to watch those back then. I wasn't allowed to watch those, as any decent child should. But
has anyone seen Mike Hunt? Anyway, Caddyshack though, it had so many great parts in it. The Rodney Dangerfield, that was my first time seeing. I never saw Easy Money, but this was my first introduction to Rodney Dangerfield, and I was just like laughing my butt off at him.
Roddy Dangerfield's kind of had that career like Tommy Lee Jones, who plays the same character on the same all the time. Yeah,
he's got the same. Back to School, even Ladybugs. He kind of toned it down for that movie, and I think that was because he wanted to get a new audience, but he didn't. He didn't do all the. He had to be.
Well, he really changed it up on what's that movie with Woody Harrelson and
Natural Born Killers?
Yeah, he really changed.
Yes, he did with that one.
I didn't like him in that because I didn't like that movie. I didn't like that movie. It was too dark. I
didn't really care for that movie.
I'm not a big serial killer person, so.
No, I'm not either. But Caddyshack, number 3 for me.
Number 2 for me, Don't Call Me Shirley. Don't Call Me Shirley. And wasn't I just talking about the Lakers? Wasn't I talking about the Lakers win and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Was it? My dad says, "Look, kid, I try real hard." And when they take him out and he's got his knee pads on and stuff
every night. Yeah. Tell your old man to drag Walton Lanier down the court.
Or what's the one with?
I'm Roger. What
was that one? Hey, nerd. He asked the stewardess, the girl that Julie was on the Love Boat. Remember her? She was on. She was. Did we have the chicken or the fish? Yes, I remember. I had the lasagna.
Yeah.
And then you got freaking Mrs. Cleaver talking. Excuse me, stewardess. I speak jive. Can you imagine the shit that would have happened nowadays if that came out?
Hey, I got one question for you. Would you rather have beans and butter than drag it through the garden? That was one of the responses from the Jive Brothers. Look, this is another movie that me and my cousins and my brother could go back and forth naming the lines over and over again.
Like the part where they're they're like checking the oil in the front.
Is that Jimmy Walker?
Is it?
That's what I wonder. It looks like Jimmy Walker up there. The guy that's doing it, he falls off the side of the and then he does a credit card machine.
And then you had the freaking another thing that would probably get a lot of people pissed off was the Arab Airlines with the beard and the.
There's so much stuff that people would cancel culture would.
The second one too, where Sonny Bono's in there buying a bomb. You know, it just yeah.
But I'll go ahead and tell you, Airplane is my number 2 as well.
All right.
So yeah, it was. So
I kind of think I know where this is headed. Yeah,
but the Jive Brothers, and then when the lady, how much flack do you think they would have when the lady was up there going, "I've got to get out of here, I've got to get out of here," and people were in line. Leslie Nielsen, though, the funniest thing of that, Leslie Nielsen slaps her, and then the guy says, "Doctor, you want it? This patient needs you back here," and Leslie Nielsen takes one more shot at her before he goes, "Bam!" Oh my God! And then the every time Ted goes and talks to somebody about the stories that want to kill themselves,
the guy that shot himself and stuff.
But look, the woman, there was so much. And then there's one more thing I'll talk about after this.
When she blows the autopilot.
Well, I wasn't going to bring that up, but just as she did, yeah. But anyway, when Ted's up there fidgeting around in the seat beside that old lady, and that lady says, it's so clever the way they wrote this up. She was like, nervous? He said, yeah. First time, he was like, "No, I've been nervous lots of times." So I mean, but
and how good is Lloyd Bridges? I guess I cooked the
right at us.
And who's the guy like? It's like when he's like, who's the guy like? Well, I want the whole story. Well, first the asteroids came, then the dinosaurs, then the Arabs.
What can you make, Johnny? What can you make out of this? I can make a hat, or a brooch, or a pterodactyl. I mean, yeah, it's me, John, big tree.
Or when he unplugged the runway. Just kidding.
And
also, it's like when the press, okay, guys, let's get some pictures, and they all get the pictures.
It was stupid,
stupid shit like that.
Gosh, how about the one with Stryker's in the hospital when he's painting that guy? He's like, "Hey, Stryker, can I take a break? I'm getting tired." And the guy is like, "Oh my gosh, it's so many good parts of the movie." The
Stryker, man, that would have been a big thing too.
Yes. Robert Stack.
Or when he's driving and he hits that guy on the bicycle. Just keeps driving.
Look, how about when he gets to the airport and he's approached by all those religious guys and he beats the crap out of every one of them. Help Jerry's kids.
One of the guys that was on there that played one of those guys was he was on Empty Nest and he was Joe Azuzu.
Yes.
Remember
no thanks. We gave it though.
Yeah. Remember Joe Azuzu that he did that? He was on Empty Nest. Another great 80s show. Yeah.
How about when they told him to get in crash position and all of them got in there? It was so much great stuff. What's that guy's name? Landis? Is that the guy that makes the movie? Or the Zemeckis brothers, something like that.
That was one of the Abram brothers.
Hold on, we're gonna find out right here. But they did a great job. And
I mean, it made a career for Leslie Nielsen. That's all he ever did after that.
Heck no.
With
he did
Police Squad.
Pretty much.
Have you ever seen Police Squad though? That was a
TV
great
show. I loved Police Squad. I hated when they took it off the air, but then when Naked Gun came, I was like, this is Police Squad as a movie. I mean, David Zucker and Jerry Zucker.
Yeah, that's what
we were both wrong. Jim Abrahams was a writer, but
that's what I was thinking about.
Gosh, that was a great movie. So,
hell, see if we talk about our number one as much as we did our number two.
Number one, who you got?
This movie, I remember this movie was I don't think if everybody claims it's the best of this franchise, it's not my favorite. It could be.
Jeez.
I think at 8 years old, I was a little bit lost because I remember talking to my mom, and I lived in Missouri, and my mom's talking to me about. I told her I went and saw it. Dad took me to go see Empire Strikes Back. It's like, okay, yeah, we saw it and everything. And that's something about Darth Vader being Luke's dad. I'm like, what? I didn't get it. I was so into the movie. I don't remember that. Because I was like, the fight, I didn't get it. I was 8 years old. Hell, I'm a dumbass now. I was a dumbass even worse then. I was so
the key part of the whole movie.
Yeah, I know.
Forgot it.
I didn't get it. I didn't understand. I didn't care. I didn't listen to the dialogue. I just cared about the fighting and stuff. I didn't know. He's what? And it just wasn't as laid back and as fun as the first one. And of course, Return of the Jedi is my favorite. Dude. And it's just, that was a little too sophisticated for me. I guess that was just a little above my head. I guess I'm a dumbass, so that's it. But she told me that is like she ruined my world. He's what?
Yeah. So, of course, anybody that knows me knows Empire.
You're a sucker. You're a sucker for a ballad.
Sucker. Oh. And anybody knows it. Star Wars. Yeah, Empire was my favorite of the series, and I remember.
Hell, you're younger than me, and you got it. So what does that say about me?
Look, dude, let me tell you this, and we'll go a little bit further back. So Star Wars came out, 77? One of my first memories that I can go back and remember is standing in line at the theater in Roanoke Rapids to go see Star Wars because my preacher was in line ahead of me. He was there. He was lying ahead of me. And, I don't know if my parents were just like into it and they were like, well, we're going to take the kids with us. But they probably would have saved themselves a lot of money if they hadn't took us, because it was like every year, Christmas, Star Wars stuff. It was, I had all the stuff. But I remember the build up, and you hear all this stuff about Empire's coming. And you're like, and nagging the crap out of my mom and dad. We got to go see this when it comes out. I remember it was a Saturday night we were going to go see it. And I was up. On a Saturday, you always get up early. You don't ever want to get up early during the week for school. But on a Saturday morning, you always want to get up early to watch all the cartoons. I couldn't sleep. I was up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. Just counting the hours down. All right, what time is it now? When are we leaving? Went to see it, and one of the memories I have of that, I don't know, during the fight scene, Darth Vader disappears for a while. And then all of a sudden he shows up, he drops back down in. Popcorn straight up in the air. I mean, I threw it up. But then, some people actually got what Darth Vader was talking about. And I was like, my mouth was like, oh my God. I was like, that ain't gonna be true. That ain't gonna be true. And then you're wondering
about fake news.
But I'll tell you this. Out of all the movies, I think the reason why I like it more, that movie left so many cliffhangers. You don't know if what's going to happen to Han Solo. You don't know if Luke's really Darth's son. But then, and we'll talk, I'm not going to talk about Return of the Jedi because that will probably come up later on when we do this series.
You think?
Yeah, I think. But just a great movie. That was probably the most action packed out of any of them.
I think Return of the Jedi.
No, because I'm not. I mean, the drawback from Jedi was, I love the Ewoks, but
you forget those movies are made for kids. You didn't hate them back then.
I know, but I actually had a man down lived like 2 towns over, played one of the Ewoks. Not one of the main Ewoks, but he was one of them. But
I think for the same reason you like Empire Strikes Back is one of the reasons I don't like Empire Strikes Back. Because when you saw Star Wars, for me, that was it. It's like, okay, one and done. That movie could have gone either way. I like movies that I don't like filler movies where you have to wait. It bridges stuff together. I don't like those.
That's the whole way they get you coming back, though.
I know, but I don't like those. I like a complete movie, start to finish. I don't like, oh shit, this ain't the whole story. I got to come back.
So Airplane, you didn't like you liked Airplane. I mean, you knew the Lunar Shuttle was coming.
Yeah, but that was,
That let you hanging. That let you hang.
not as bad as Star Wars did. You had that or Empire. I mean, it's just not my favorite movie. I mean, I guess I think because of just God, can you imagine cutting that animal open and putting him in there? I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
The Tauntauns.
You did that pretty good, Stevie.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Jim? What's that guy's name? Bill Hader from Saturday Night Live, who is hilarious. I mean, but he went on Jimmy Fallon and did a Tauntaun impression, and he had it down. I mean, sounded just like him. And he did the whole falling over thing. Oh my God, I like to die laughing. But yeah. So we had our top two was the same. That's scary.
Yeah, but it's funny. We had one song in common.
Yeah, we had 3 out of the 5. So that's pretty cool. I think that.
And there's like a couple on our list that neither one of us has seen. You watch The Changeling, and I'll watch Blues Brothers.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
No, I will.
All right. Albums. Let's get to the third and last category. Albums. Your number 5.
My number 5, you mentioned earlier. It's more of something I like later in life, not so much back then. But I think you know me. I'm a big Sabbath fan. I like Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. I love the title track, and I love Evil. Was it Evil Woman?
Yeah, that was one I got into later on. I remember hearing Heaven and Hell for the first time, and I was like, "This is
how." Okay, I'm going to say this right now. How shitty is that of Sharon to make them change their name from Sabbath to Heaven and Hell? That woman, I just can't stand that.
Sharon.
I know it's Sharon.
Woman, and it's all about money, and it's all about.
But goddamn, I mean, when do you have enough money?
She gets on a power trip, dude. It's all about power. She's got money. Now it's all about power. It's a power trip, dude.
Well, honestly, what happened to her and getting exposed and stuff, and couldn't have happened to a nicer person.
Oh, what are you talking about? All right. So number 5 is Heaven and Hell. And number 5 for me, this is like you, something I probably got into later on. I got into this. I remember hearing this band the first time. It was like, it's probably a couple years later. But going back later in my life and listening to
Men at Work. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Do you come? I want a Vegemite sandwich.
Did that come out in 80? I think it came out in 81.
I say that came out later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was an album that for me, it's not one of the best albums they did, but it leads off with a great song, and then the first 2 songs are great. Van Halen, Women and Children First. But at the Cradle Will Rock, it's got that ching, 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 ching. Yeah, Everybody Wants Some, Romeo Delight, great songs. Van Halen. It wasn't, like I said, Diver Down was what got me into Van Halen. Hearing A Pretty Woman of all things on the radio on Casey Kasem was what got me into Van Halen. And it just went from there. But Women and Children First is.
Have you seen Junior's Grades?
Have you seen Junior's Grades?
That is probably my least favorite Van Halen album. I've had them all. And that's probably one I don't know. It's got Everybody Wants Some is pretty badass. And I never liked In the Cradle Will Rock. I like that. I just was never really one of my favorite. What is the other? What's the other standout song on that album? No, I'm thinking of Women in Love, but that's on.
That's on something else.
Yeah, that's okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
Mean Streets or whatever.
I think that's it. So number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me is probably from my second favorite band of all time, and this is probably my least favorite album by them, but it has a few good songs on it. Emotional Rescue by the Rolling Stones. I mean, I love that because it still kind of got that disco feel to it, but it's kind of more. I
just remember hearing that on the radio, Emotional Rescue on the radio, and he's singing in that falsetto voice the
Yeah.
whole time. And I'm
And he
like,
gets all serious. I will be your knight in shining armor. Yeah, they were. I mean, if you ever seen like the video for Miss You, man, they
yeah,
are beyond freaking hammered, dude.
yes, yes. I mean,
I love it. I love the Stones. They're like I said, they're right behind there for Kiss for me.
yeah.
I love their disco stuff. I love it. I like this album. I know a lot of people dislike it, but but I know it's not the same year. But "Miss You" is my all-time favorite Stones song. I love the Stones.
Rolling Stones were, uh, for me, I don't know. There was a few songs that I liked back then, but it wasn't. They weren't something I was like, oh gosh, Rolling Stones are on. I got to listen to them.
I think for me, my mom listened to them a lot, and I think like them and Rod
Yeah,
Stewart. So yeah, that's like you and
Elvis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I can totally understand that. All right, so this is going to surprise you here. My number 4.
Village People.
Hey, we had that album that came through Columbia House too.
Was that reel to reel? Was that long ago? Remember they had the reel to reel option. I go, what's that?
Yeah, what the heck is that? But
looks like a lot of work to me. It's like no.
My brother had this album I'm talking about here on cassette.
Christopher Cross.
No. And I just remember from start to finish, I could at one time I could probably sing every song up there. Knew all the words to it. We played it so much. And it's probably a little bit of cheating because it is a greatest hits compilation, but it had a great song that everybody two great songs that everybody was crazy over back then. Talking about Kenny Rogers' greatest hits. You had The Gambler, you had Lady, right there. One that was the first 2 songs there. But man, I remember the first time hearing Coward of the County, and I'm like, this is freaking awesome here. This guy tells a story. Another one of my favorites off that is Don't Fall in Love with a Dreamer with Kim Carnes. She Believes in Me. Lucille, You Decorated My Life. Reuben James. Love the World Away. Just great stuff, bud. I loved because Lady. I think this was Lady made its debut on this album. It hadn't been released except on the Greatest Hits album, and I think he was one of the first ones to do something like that, to have like a unreleased song, 2 unreleased songs on that Greatest Hits album. But yeah, I mean, we wore this tape out. I mean, there's so many great songs. Kenny Rogers' Greatest Hits.
My number 3, Kenny Rogers' Greatest Hits. I remember, I don't know who it was, either my mother or my grandmother had this album, the LP.
Yes.
And I think what the song that stood out for me the most was You Decorated My Life.
Yes. That's a great song.
And I remember, I can remember later in life when I was going to strip clubs. And
you started singing You Decorated My Life.
No, I just remember we were talking about, my buddy had a girlfriend at the time, and she was real straight-laced, and she probably would have freaked out. He was a strip club. I go, oh, it's kind of like She Believes in Me. You're just in her messing around on her. You're at a strip club. And it was either that and She's a Good-Hearted Woman in Love with a Good Time and Man. That one came up too. I just had to bust his balls for that one. But yeah, You Decorated My Life. I used to say this about Kenny Rogers. He was like the white man, Southern Barry White. Because,
yeah.
I mean, you kind of look at that. I mean, God, Kenny Rogers was great.
Yes,
and I guarantee you, he will come up in later issue.
He probably
later, later episodes. But yeah, You Decorated My Life was probably. I mean, God, every song on here is great. Coward of the County, Ruby. It's just like, dude, The Gambler.
Ruby, don't take your love. I remember at the end of Ruby,
drum beat in the beginning.
God sakes, turn around.
Yeah.
And Kenny Rogers might come up in one of my movies from.
So did Lucille come out later then? Because it's not on here.
Yeah, it is. Is it?
Yeah, I wasn't quite looking. Okay.
So breaking news. We talked it up. Aaron Judge, about 10 minutes ago, just hit 61. And
Oh,
we're
well.
recording on
He's not going to hit 70.
Wednesday
though.
night, 9/28/2022. So, yeah.
So he's trying. I mean, he's not going to hit 70 though.
No, he won't get to 70, I don't think.
It
He
was
would,
only
he would
like
really, he would, unless Mark McGuire becomes the hitting coach for the Yankees all of a sudden, then he might. I don't know if he's got enough time to get it in the system.
But God, okay, speaking of Aaron Judge, you see how much money the Yankees offered him?
He turned
I
down.
mean, my God, what does he want?
Just like Lamar Jackson with the Ravens.
I think Lamar Jackson doesn't like playing with the Ravens. I
probably
don't know where else. I mean, is Aaron Judge going to join Mike Trout in Anaheim?
Never know.
That'll
All
be three great players not doing anything in the postseason. He could go to Houston.
Might.
But the Houston doesn't play for their players, though. So
no. Houston's more. They don't have that one star.
They're like the Cardinals. They don't really pay that big contract.
And they don't have the standout guy anymore. They just
was that Alex? Was it Alex Carrera that left? Was it? He went to. Is it one of them left? Plays for the Toronto now, but it was just they're like the Cardinals. I mean, they let Pujols go. I mean, it just that was the biggest mistake.
Yeah, was
on his part.
I agree with that. So, number 3 for me, and this is another one that probably came up, but I do remember this is another cassette my brother had that I listened to. I was kind of scared of it at first, but then because I was like, then it just like, oh, whatever. But number 3 for me, we mentioned it earlier, AC/DC Back in Black.
Really? And you're number 3?
Yes.
Wow.
Giving the Dog a Bone, Back in Black, Shoot the Thrill. I mean, Shoot the Thrill is a great song. Of course,
was number 1 on my list.
The Undertaker, Ding Dong on Boom, on Hell's Bells. That was one of them that I was scared of right there at first when I heard that song. I was like,
why were you afraid of Satan's going to get you?
I got my bell. I'm going to take you to hell. You know, I
and
was
if he goes on, what is it?
I listen to it too much, I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you. Satan's going to get you.
Because if God's on the left, I'm sticking to the right. Like, yeah.
But anyway.
You know, Brian Johnson, I read an interview with him, is like, why did you, I think I've mentioned this before, it's like, were you into Satan? Because, nah, just wanted to give all them evangelicals something to talk about. Hey, I did pretty good, Brian Johnson. Better than my
you did
Joe
better than
Walsh.
You're going to do.
Yeah.
Joe Walsh, yeah, it's better than you, Joe Walsh.
My Joe Walsh is like Keith Richards. All right, my number 2. My number 2, I mentioned his former band earlier. My number 5 is Blizzard of Oz. Crazy. I mean, we give Sharon a, huh?
That's how it goes. Crazy.
We give Sharon a lot of crap, but I mean, she made Ozzy, and she's probably a big reason he's still alive.
As like you said, we give her a lot of crap, but as much of a, but we think she is a good business lady. She
defined her
right. Yeah.
She defined her dad.
Yeah.
To stick with Ozzy. I mean, they fired Ozzy.
Something.
It's like kind of like when Guns N' Roses fired Steven Adler. All you're doing is firing the biggest junkie in the band. The rest of them are junkies too.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozzy, I think, surpassed Sabbath. Ozzy's better than Sabbath. I think Ozzy's better than Sabbath. It's solo, my opinion.
You know,
and I love Black Sabbath.
Sabbath kind of stayed still. They didn't go to the next level when Rodney James Dio was there. And I think he wasn't there long enough really to get him to the next level. But once he left, you know, Ozzy's going here, they're going down. I mean, it's just like, no. And a lot of when Geezer and Bill Ward left, and it was Tony Iommi's Black Sabbath.
So, yeah, when he was like there, I remember that one album that he was there in the jacket by himself, Iommi, and then they did the Eternal Idol.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people say, oh, you didn't give a heart. But I mean, I remember when that Sabbath was a joke by then. I mean, you think Kiss was a joke in the 80s. God, Sabbath was a real joke.
They were. I mean, I remember, listening to reading in like Hit Parade or Circus, Black Sabbath's coming out with another album, and it was like, and nothing. There was never any good. Which I don't pay attention to a lot of critics' reviews because there's a lot of songs that a lot of albums that critics don't like that I love. But yeah. I'll go ahead and tell you, Blizzard of Oz is my number 2 as well. Top to bottom, a lot of great songs. And Randy Rhoads, I mean, what can you say about Randy Rhoads? That was the introduction to Randy Rhoads as far as in the national spotlight. Of course, he'd been with Quiet Riot, but it's just sad that Randy Rhoads didn't get, tragically life cut short, and we didn't get to see.
It's just like Cliff Burton.
Cliff Burton, yeah, and that was the anniversary of that was this week as well. But yeah,
yeah. I have a feeling that we will be mentioning Ozzy quite a bit.
Yeah,
I know I will, because there was one that I put on Facebook today. 34 years at No Rest for the Wicked. Probably my favorite Ozzy album. I love that because that song just a kick ass. Demon Alcohol. I mean, that's just. I mean, that's just a great album.
Yeah, and we need to save it.
I know.
Save it and save the song for that. Might be an album review we have to do.
That has to be an album review.
I'm a big fan of that album as well. So number one is a repeat. When I heard the bells, and I was hooked ever since. This is my all-time favorite album. I've mentioned this before. Back in Black. I'm a Brian Johnson guy, but as I get older, I'm appreciating Bon more. Yeah.
When we did our upcoming Sabbath album, I had 5 Bon and 5 Brian albums.
You're talking about AC/DC.
I'm sorry, AC/DC. But Back in Black. I mean, I don't think there's a song on this album that I dislike. It shows you another example of how great Mutt Lange is. I mean, you think about all the albums that he's done with Def Leppard, with Sabbath, with Shania Twain I don't know if you were a Shania Twain fan.
Yeah.
But,
oh yeah.
I can just imagine if he ever did anything with Kiss. I don't think Kiss would have given up No Control, but if he could have done something in the 70s with them, I don't know. I think it would have, like Dynasty, maybe more. I mean, can you imagine him doing Dynasty? God, it would probably be more commercial. But Back in Black, my favorite all-time album, start to finish. Hell's Bells. It submitted me as I keep saying Sabbath, an AC/DC fan. Just the bells freaking me out. Then Shoot the Thrill, Giving the Dog a Bone. Hell, Back in Black. I remember walking with my boombox. Remember the boomboxes?
Oh yeah.
Why everybody like my age was like doing, LL Cool J or something like that. Man, I was rock all the way. I kind of had the Run DMC fascination for a while, but we'll talk about that later. But Back in Black, my all-time favorite album. I probably listen to at least once a month. I love it.
Is there anything that takes D batteries besides the old jam boxes and flashlights? That was the only thing that you had to have D batteries.
Yeah.
And it was like,
and they didn't last long back then.
No, they didn't.
You remember they had that thing that it was kind of a new thing. They had the battery chargers. Remember those?
Yes.
But those things didn't work because you would recharge a battery and they would leak acid.
Yep.
So it's like you just had the battery. And those batteries were not cheap.
When they came out, I was like, oh my God. And they were like, nope.
They weren't cheap either, those batteries.
No. So my number one, and gotta say,
am I going to be surprised, Stevie?
No, probably not.
Because you're a sucker for a ballad. It's some Journey album.
No, it's not. No. Oh, no. It's nothing like Journey. It's an album that came out in 1980, of course. And it was the first album with a new drummer. Unmasked. Kiss Unmasked. Yes. Going there. And I'm telling you, dude, when that came out, such a
somebody that gives me so much crap.
No, I like Unmasked, but come on, dude. Torpedo Girl is all right song, but one of Ace's best. Come on, dude.
Ace doesn't have a lot of great stuff solo.
Still, I could have found something better. Anyway, let's move on. it was different. It was
We're going to
poppy.
talk about that till the podcast ends, dude. We'll always bring up
Good.
Torpedo Girl.
Yeah, that's gonna be the last thing I say. when the
Great
podcast
album. Yeah,
ends.
great album. It's
I remember just the build up to it, and then getting the actual album and seeing the cover of it, and I was like, "Holy crap! Look at this cover! It's a comic book." And I remember, is that you hearing that? I think I got it. I think I actually got it for Easter.
I guess I'm such a Kiss geek and hard, I guess, that I didn't even consider that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just went outside of Kiss on mine.
Right.
Because there's probably I probably like that album more than the bottom 3 in mine. Well, bottom 2 anyway.
You did, like you said, poppy, but it had some great songs on there. Is That You's great. Naked City.
What Makes the World Go Round?
What Makes the World Go Round. And even, I know Zeus is going to hate me for saying this, but Shandy. Nothing wrong with Shandy.
I love Shandy.
I do love Shandy.
That's a great song, and it's funny. He much loves the Eagles. My buddies would always say, he's like, man, that's as close to the Eagles as Kiss gets. I go, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Kind of got the kind of guitar, and I think I mentioned that on our episode, and I think I got the evil look. Like, how dare you?
So, but Unmasked is my favorite album, 1980. So, we're going to try to do this. We're going to try to do the 80s at least once a month. Next month will be 1981, and so on and so on. And maybe we need to add TV shows to it. I mean, we can move right along with it. Maybe next month we need to do 1981 top 5 TV shows from that year. What do you think?
Any TV shows that stand out? I know that Magnum debuted in 80. So I know that.
Let's see.
I know it didn't debut, but I think Dallas, Dukes of Hazzard, they were my shows in 80.
And I mean that's the thing we're going to run into. That's the thing we're going to run into there.
I think we can do it like with the TV show. It's not necessarily 80, but what we were watching in 1980.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Because I mean, Dukes of Hazzard, I mentioned that, but it started in 79. Dallas started in the 70s. And in 1980, I was watching both those. It's funny. I grew up in such a like certain music I listened to, but I was okay. My dad let me watch Dallas. It's just like,
okay, here's some of the ones that are going to stand out for me. Magnum Pi.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this one, Too Close for Comfort.
Oh yeah, we talked about her. We talked about the blonde that dated Paul.
Lydia Cornell.
Dead Night.
Bosom Buddies.
But
Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Donna Dixon. Also, I forgot she was in that.
You forgot
Colin
Donna
Taylor,
Dixon.
who went on to be Charlie and Alan's mom in 2.5 Men, and is also dating that other girl.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was. And I didn't know that one girl that had the crush on the other guy, I didn't know she died. I guess I had forgotten that. I put it on that 80s page, and it was.
Oh yeah.
I had forgotten she passed away.
Battlestar Galactica, remember that?
It wasn't Battlestar Galactica. It was Battlestar 80. It was the second. It wasn't the original one that came out before. It was Battlestar 80.
It was Galactica 1980. That's
what it was.
Fridays
which was a ripoff of Star Wars from left to right.
Exactly. Yeah. You remember Flamingo Road?
Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah. Solid Gold. We talked about that.
You said Fridays?
Yeah.
Isn't that the one that Kiss was on?
Yep. Remember That's Incredible?
Oh yeah.
Kathy Lee Crosby.
Yeah.
John Davidson, Fran Tarkenton.
That had like one of the first ghost stories I ever saw. You ought to Google it sometime, Stevie. They're in they do a show they're in a Toys R Us, and they do an overnight that's supposedly haunted. It's pretty good. I mean, I was really into that In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy, but I don't know if it was 80 or whatever, but That's Incredible. They had some good stuff on that show that was kind of paranormal that I always liked watching. But if you ever get a chance, it's a pretty good ghost investigation.
I'll have to look it
up. I don't think that they were adding anything. I'll put it on that 80s page, and I'll tag you on it.
Right. Texas, which was another daytime drama, went to, I think it was like a spinoff from Another World that went at night trying to match Dallas.
Who was in that?
Beverly McKenzie is the only name I recognize there.
Because I'm thinking, I guess
was
I'm
she
thinking
the one that played on Vacation?
God, Beverly D'Angelo.
That's right. Who is Beverly McKenzie? That name sounds familiar. But let's move on while I'm looking at that.
I'm thinking Matt Houston is the one I'm thinking, but that was probably
Yeah.
later.
I remember Breaking Away, which Jackie Earle Haley and Sean Cassidy were in. That was based on the movie Breaking Away. Spinoff from Alice Flow.
No, that didn't last very long. I remember that.
Last 1 year. And then what we talked about, the Fonz and the Happy Days gang animated.
So that was I don't remember that.
Sanford, not Sanford and Son, Sanford.
Yeah, after.
Yeah.
Wasn't there also a spinoff, Grady? Didn't Grady get a spinoff too?
Yeah, he did. I'm looking, let's see. Enos, which was a spinoff.
Oh, I remember that when he went to LA or whatever. Yeah, I remember that.
Did you ever watch Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters?
Yeah, I did.
That was
I like the brunette. What was her name? I actually liked all three of them. What am I talking about?
The brunette it was Louise and Earlene Mandrell.
Whoever the brunette was, the middle one, I guess. But I liked all three of them.
One of them was married to T.G. Shepherd. You remember him?
Oh, T.G. Shepherd. He had to be older than that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. So, I mean, just looking through that, some of them there's a lot up here from 1980.
I was looking up TV shows today, and a lot of shows I started in 80 started either before or after. I was totally off. You
remember Here's Boomer?
No. Was that the rerun? No.
Okay, that was one I used to watch. They got a lot of they're listing a lot of.
What about cartoons like Saturday morning cartoons?
Yeah, that's what they're listing a lot of cartoons up here too.
Super Friends, was that on?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That started like in the 70s.
Yeah. Tim Conway show, which I watched. Game show, Sale of the Century. I don't remember this. The Stockard Channing show. I do not remember that being on.
I remember that one.
David Letterman show.
Is that the one on NBC?
Yeah.
The Late Show with David Letterman.
It was just called the David Letterman show then, I guess.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a big Letterman fan. I like Leno.
Ugh.
Why don't you like Leno, man?
I
don't know, Stevie. Never mind.
The Alan Thicke show? I didn't know he had one of those either.
Show me that smile again.
Show me that smile. Yeah, let's see. I'm looking and nothing else is ringing a bell.
Hey, when did Fraggle Rock start? Was that in 80?
That was later. I think that was later in the 80s.
I used to love that show.
It's Tarzan, Lone Ranger, and Zorro Adventure Hour. I
remember that.
Yeah. This is like taking PM Magazine.
I remember that.
Yeah. I think Kiss was on that a couple of times.
Yeah, they were doing a PM Magazine when they were here in San Antonio. That episode shot here. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's on the Dynasty tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was shot here in San Antonio. It's weird because it's like the arena they were showing is not where they played. Like they're showing I don't think so, because the place they played is called the Freeman Coliseum, but they were showing the arena. So because I think they used to play the arena when they were big, but when I think they had to play the other one because that tour was in Freeman, but they're showing the arena, and it's like, wait a minute, it's probably just bad. It looks bigger on TV, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much
PM Magazine.
Pretty much the more popular ones that were out that debuted that year, because a lot of this stuff I'm seeing right here is foreign stuff and stuff that here we go. America's Top 10. We talked about that earlier. The Flintstones from 1980. That had to be a redo of that. WWF Club. That was it had to be a foreign thing. It was not the WWF, World Wrestling Federation, or the World Wildlife Federation either. Lou Rawls' Parade of Stars. Wow. I mean, there was a lot, and we can next month we'll add that top 5 TV shows and what you're watching then. Since we didn't do 1980 on here, Kids Break. There's some stuff I've never heard of. IMDb. I'm looking through their some stuff I've never heard of up here. Jeez, You Bet Your Life, Buddy Hackett. What was his name? Buddy Wackett? Anyway, so we've done 1980. If you don't agree with us, let us know. If you do agree with us, or let us know why. I've got to throw a shout out right here to a guy that he's one of our fellow Loudcasters, and he keeps up with us a lot. Maybe not on social media like Facebook or Twitter, but on YouTube. He's always commenting on our YouTube version of the podcast. It's Marty White. Marty White always has a comment, and talking about our Tesla episode, he was saying that his housekeeper, I think he's talking about Brian Wheat, because he said the bass player for Tesla, he bought a mansion nearby his house, and said that his housekeeper cleans that house too. And I said, is that, and I asked him, is that Brian Wheat that she's talking about? And he said, I'll ask her. She's supposed to come in later this week. He said, we may have to hit Marty White up. Marty, if you're listening, hey, hit that lady up for some contact info on Brian Wheat, or let him know. Send him the link to our episode about Tesla. So you did, and then you can blame Orton for talking about Jeff Keith calling him the Crypt Keeper that night.
I didn't call him that. You kept making a big deal about it.
No, it's you that was talking about it.
I just said he wasn't a handsome man. That's all. But I don't say I'm a handsome man either.
Jeez, that'll probably ruin our chances of getting him right there. Jeez. Anyway, Warden, any last words?
We're on all over social media.
Yes, we are.
That 80s page, I think we're up to 4,000.
Yeah.
Nothing 4, I'm doing. Stevie always gives me credit, but ain't nothing I'm doing.
Hey,
I have to go in.
You done. That's half the struggle right there. You put it out there.
And honestly, it's been a pretty good page, because I haven't really run into a lot of political stuff.
Exactly.
But, I do delete stuff from time to time that has nothing to do with the 80s. If somebody, like I think somebody the other day posted something like Rod Stewart song. What's that Rod Stewart song he did for? It came out in the 90s, and it was like, oh, that's not the 80s. Like, I don't care about that. But if you put something political, if you put something religious, it's going to get deleted. Yeah. But there have been a lot of that. So I've been lucky on that. All things rock, hard rock, and metal. I think we got a couple more followers this week. Not many. It's kind of just the diehards, but I like to grow it. I try to cross train between On the Fly and also that 80s, but it just, every once in a while.
Yeah, you can also find us On the Fly. That's we're flirting. We've been flirting with 500 for a while, so hopefully we can get over 500 soon. Anywhere you listen to your podcast at, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Podchasers, Good Pods. By all means, look, we ask this every week of you. If you can, leave a 5-star review. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. It doesn't take a lot of your time. Maybe take 5 minutes.
It's cheaper than Columbia House. Think about it.
Yeah, we don't send out little things where you get our selections of the month, and we'll send it to you no matter if you don't send the.
You wouldn't want our selections of the month.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't. But yeah, and we're recording this on Wednesday night, like the 28th, and we want to send our prayers out right now, because right now Florida's getting pummeled by hurricane. What's it?
Ian.
And another one of our fellow Loudcasters, Joey Romanek, is right down there in the middle of it. Now I've been getting updates from him so far. So far, so good. He said that the last update I got at 6:45, he said we're good so far. Really bad stuff is south of us. Thankfully, if it came ashore here like it was initially forecast to do, we'd be screwed. A couple of sections of the fence now, some tree limbs, but that's so far. That's it. So
you don't think it's going to really hit you too much?
It's gonna. I mean, they're saying a little bit of wind, a lot of rain.
Are you Are you in the middle? Or are you close to the coast? Where are you
close. At? We're up as far north as you can get, right at the Virginia line to the in the east. So we're not really at the coast. We're about 2 hours from the coast.
But if a storm came from the coast, it would F you up.
It has before. Like we had. I don't know if you remember, because you probably weren't paying a lot of attention to it back in. Oh gosh, it was probably 2003, 2004. We had two hurricanes come right behind each other. One,
I remember that.
One ended up weakening into a tropical storm, but it dropped so much rain that the next week, when the actual hurricane came through, all the trees were, and I mean, it just went through there, and pummeled everything, and it flooding everywhere. For about we were without power for over a week.
See, you're a couple hours from the coast. I'm up in San Antonio. I'm only 3 hours from the coast. Because I mean, I always keep an eye on those storms. Because I mean, it hit Florida, but man, it hits that Gulf where I'm at, and it goes straight through Corpus. I mean, it's gonna up San Antonio too. I mean, I mean, 3 hours ain't much.
Lucky,
actually, it's 2 hours.
With this, the fact that it's going, and I mean, now they're saying it could turn and go back out to sea and then come back to land again.
Oh wow!
But,
hit Florida or what?
It would probably do. I think it was saying in the southern tip of South Carolina, it would come back on. So, but the more it hits land, of course, the more it hits land, the more it's going to slow down.
That's happened where it's gone out and come back.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
Several of them that gone out and come back.
And I see those storms when they're going and like they're over Cuba, the Virgin Islands. There's nowhere to go.
No,
I mean, that storm is covering all of Cuba. All of Cuba is they're out of electricity. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we definitely send our prayers to everybody in the line of the storm. We hope you're all right. And hope everybody gets through. I know I've seen some video from Florida already, and the storm surge over 12 feet. It was terrible what I saw.
What's bad about this one is that it's hitting at the high tide, not the low tide.
Yeah, and it's stalling. It's not moving fast. It was moving like 10 mile an hour. And say it was at one time it was going to stall and just drop rain, and I mean that's not good.
They had those webcams out there, I guess.
Yeah.
And my boss was watching it this morning, and we were talking about it, and he saw these two guys out there. Then all of a sudden they were gone. Man, that storm. I mean, that ain't nothing to mess around with.
You got to use common sense, guys. I know it's probably you think it's funny to be out there.
It happens all the time. There's hurricane parties all the time.
Exactly, but you got to use common sense, or something bad's going to happen. You don't
play
around with Mother Nature like that.
You ever heard of the Darwin Awards?
The what?
The Darwin Awards.
It's
pretty much a list of they do a top 10 list. I think it's every year of the stupidest way people died. I mean, the Darwin, because survival of the fittest. You're out there swimming in a Category 4 or 5 hurricane. I did read though that some liquor store was giving away free alcohol if you stay. So maybe that was what it was. They had enough alcohol. I mean, people do stupid stuff, bro. Too. I mean, they do that down here. They'll be down in Galveston or Corpus when a storm's hit. Luckily we haven't been hit by that Hurricane Harvey that hit Houston a few years ago. That was headed right for us, and that would have definitely messed us up. Because there's really nothing. A storm that big. It hits that coast. There's really, 3 hours away. That ain't 2 hours away actually from the coast. That ain't much protection at all.
No.
But it's so hot in Texas that we usually have a high above us, so that usually saves our butt.
That's true.
We just don't have any vegetation, so we just don't get any.
Don't have nothing to slow it down.
No, exactly.
All right, so that's going to do it for this week. 1980 is in the books, so we've got some stuff coming up. We'll probably have the next episode we do. We'll probably have a guest on, and we're not going to let the cat out of the bag yet, but
They don't even know about it. No, just kidding.
yeah, he probably don't even know about it yet. But anyway, so that's going to do it for this week. And Warden, stay safe.
You too, brother.
And
I'll
Cowboys.
stay safe in this 91-degree weather. You stay safe with that rain coming towards you, man.
Yeah, we just you know, we're supposed to play our homecoming game Friday night, but they rescheduled that for next week. So we got lucky on that. So it would have been a good thing to even try that. Homecoming, you don't want all them girls like that in the rain like that. But anyway, you guys stay safe.
Just the girls, screw the guy.
They're supposed to be tough like that. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week on The Fly.
See ya.